Welcome back to another episode of Girls Know Nothing. I have been super excited to have this guest in the studio for a long time. And if you didn't recognise her, it is Keisha East.
Hello.
Why did I feel like I got your surname wrong then? I paused and was like, shit, did I say her name wrong?
East. Yes.
But yeah, if you want to give yourself a brief introduction for people that don't know who you are.
Okay. My name is Keisha East, as she said. I'm a celebrity makeup artist, beauty influencer, and founder of No Not Co, which is a hair brand that specialises in tools for wavy, curly, and coily hair types.
Massive self-plug there.
Yeah, shameless plug.
So like, you know, one of the, obviously, a lot of the conversation I wanted to have with you is about your brand and how you started it and found it. But I'm really interested in to know Keisha, young Keisha, like how you got to where you are now. So, you know, obviously, I did a lot of research on you. I did Google you.
You stalked me.
I did stalk you, yeah. Sounds very creepy. But
you found good things.
They are good things. And, you know, I think a lot of the things I found were very relatable. You know, when you were talking about growing up mixed race and how, like, confusing it can be.
Yes.
Because sometimes you don't feel like you belong to either community. And then you're like, well, actually, where do I sit? So, like, what was that like for you, like, growing up as a mixed race woman?
You know what? It's crazy because... actually, my family were really great, to be honest. Like, both sides were really open and both sides are very close to me and my sister. So we didn't actually feel that kind of strain really growing up. I think the most significant thing was when it came to hair, which is crazy because like my mum was like, what do I do with this hair? This is nothing like mine. And then my dad was like, what do I do with this hair? This is nothing like mine. So we'd find that like my mum, for example, would just like relax it and do things that were sometimes a bit too harsh. And then my dad would like not put product in it and like comb it and then it'd go like super frizzy. So when it came to hair, yeah, that was a bit of a struggle, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I didn't really feel like I needed to choose a side or felt out of place anywhere, to be honest. It wasn't until really I started kind of growing up a bit more and, you know, in school and things, people would say, oh, like, you know, what, you know, do you identify more with your white side or your black side? And I, you know, started to find these questions like very, very strange. Or people just commenting like random things. And yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like how others see you. Like that was never a complex growing up. But people put their own, I guess, insecurities or complexes on you. And so, yeah, I've had some weird questions. But yeah.
You grew up in a city though, didn't you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Walthamstow. Walthamstow massive. Love Walthamstow. Me and my sister rep it to death, literally. We just love that place. But yeah, I grew up in Walthamstow, very multicultural, but surprisingly not a lot of mixed race people in my school, actually.
Oh, really? Do you feel like being in a city helped you, even though there wasn't that many mixed race people?
Definitely, because even though obviously I grew up with two sides, it helps to grow up in a community where there's all different races. And yeah, I felt like there's a lot of like racial issues or struggles that people have. And I didn't have that being in London. So yeah, it was great.
What was school like for you then, being mixed race, if there wasn't that many other people that could identify with how you feel?
I mean, a lot of people were mixed. Like I went to a Catholic school and so, you know, everyone kind of like mixed with each other and it was good. It was a great school. I found that people definitely did hang around in like a lot of racial groups sometimes, which was great for me because I was like moving around in every circle. But yeah, it was fine, you know, it was fine. I honestly feel like when it comes to being like mixed race and having two heritages, yeah, I think it's more the questions that people ask more than actually like your actual experience on a day-to-day, if that makes sense.
So, like, what kind of questions did you get growing up?
Well, like, people just asking, like, would you say you're more like your white side or your black side? You know, oh, who do you date? Do you date white guys? Do you date black guys? You know, and it's like I don't know whether it's like a stigma or if it's a fetish. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like the strangest questions, like that you think, would you ask anyone that wasn't mixed race this question? I don't know. I just feel like if you've grown up with two parents that are two different races, like you're going to be a bit of both and they're going to both have an impression on you. So yeah, I mean, I guess what's normal for me might be, I guess, a bit more abnormal for others, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, because I feel like in my experience, things that are very like stereotypical, they'd be like, oh, you don't have that or you don't do that. And I was like, yeah, but you have to remember that I am mixed. So I grew up two different things.
Yes, exactly. Like, for example, my mom is from West Africa, Ghana, and like people will be like, oh, can you make jollof or can you speak Tree? And I'll be like, yeah, I can. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah, but that's because your mum's like black. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because my mum's black, like that's why I've got more of that culture. I was like, I don't know. I think it's weird. Like you get a lot of strange comments, I think. And I don't think people mean it offensively. And I don't take them offensively, but I just think they're, some strange comments, I would say.
I think it's down to your like individual preference though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because my brother and I both have the same parents, but I feel like he's very European, whereas I'm very Asian.
Yes.
But that's just naturally like how our habits.
Yes. And what you like are more interested in or whatever. Yeah.
I think it's a food thing, if I'm honest.
Really?
Like, I'm really into Asian food.
Are
like,
you?
Spicy food. My brother, not so much.
Oh my God, I love spicy food.
So I feel like that's just kind of like the thing, but it's not like, he still is mixed race. And
yeah.
Like,
I mean, do you know what? I don't know. I would have to like have my friends judge me on this one, but I would say that I'm pretty much bang in the middle of the spectrum. Like I could literally have a pie and mash, 2 pie, 2 mash and gravy on a Friday. And then on a Sunday, I'll be eating like a mutua with my hands, like peanut soup. So literally, I'm like, I'm in the middle. I love both cultures. I celebrate both. And I feel lucky to have both, really.
I always feel like, I feel like maybe this is not something you've necessarily experienced if you grew up in a very multicultural school, but, people that I knew that grew up in not so diverse areas also had issues of people going to touch their hair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. This is a big thing in like just curly hair community generally. But yeah, it's a big thing. What I will say is when I was growing up, because I had a lack of products, which I'm sure we'll discuss, I didn't actually wear my hair curly for a lot of my childhood, to be honest. As I said, my mum relaxed my hair when I was growing up. And then when I started doing my own hair, I was just straightening it. I remember me and my sister would actually, I'm so embarrassed, but me and my sister would straighten our hair on ironing boards with an iron.
We've all been there. I've been there. I'm not going to lie to you.
We didn't have GHDs at the time.
The budget wasn't there.
Yeah, the budget was not there. So we didn't have GHDs at the time. We used to iron our hair and we'd literally take it in turns, which is crazy to think about now. But so yeah, my hair was straight most of the time. So people didn't really touch my hair, to be honest. And then it wasn't until maybe I was about 22, 23 that I started actually wearing it curly. So yeah, I haven't had much of that, I'm not going to lie. I haven't had many people ask. And I feel like people are a lot more woke now. Yeah. So it doesn't really happen. Yeah. So I haven't experienced it, but I can, it's annoying. I can see why that's annoying.
So, like, moving on to how you became a celebrity makeup artist. To be fair, like, when you said you're a makeup artist, I was like, that explains why your makeup looks immaculate. So, like,
thank you.
When I did Google, I did see a picture of you at university, actually.
Did
at
you?
Your graduation, yeah.
What?
Blonde hair.
What images are out there? Oh, my God. What image is this? Is this from the website?
I think it's you and your sister. With your little graduation cap on. It's a very cute picture. Yeah. But, like...
Throwback.
Going to university. Like, I don't think I found what you studied, though. That was one thing I couldn't find.
I studied history.
Oh, I did not expect that. Okay, so like what kind of interested you in studying history?
Oh my God, you know what? Every time I drop that H-bomb,
I did not expect that.
Yeah, you know what? I loved history. I just loved it. You know what? I love studying about where we've been, where we are. I love politics. I have a lot of interests that, you may not think. But I studied history because it was the subject that I loved the most at school. I had no idea what I wanted to do, to be honest. When I finished college, I was like, what do I do now? And everyone at the time was just going to uni. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to uni as well. So I studied history and it wasn't just wars and stuff, which people think that history is like just old people and wars. And it's like so misunderstood. I studied really fun things like art and architecture and beauty trends throughout the years. So it was a really fun degree, to be honest. That's why I did history. And then when I left university, I was just like, what the hell am I going to do? And I was working at Benefit at the time while I was at uni.
Oh, I've been there.
I loved Benefit. I don't know what your experience was, but like, okay. I loved it. I just loved beauty. So for me, just working with makeup and in the beauty hall at Debenhams, I just loved it. I loved working there. And So yeah, when I finished uni, I was like, what do I do? And I went to Mac basically. And that's where it kind of grew from there, I guess. I was in denial, definitely. People would always say, oh, are you a makeup artist? Can you do my makeup? And I was like, no. I've studied history at university. I'm going to do a graduate job. And I just like wanted to go into this like corporate world, I think. I don't know whether that was society's impression on me or whatever. And then eventually I just decided, you know what? I want to do makeup, and it kind of went from there.
Do you feel like maybe you were thinking that you wanted to do a graduate job? Because I find that women that are very intelligent, but also very fashionable or like good looking, that they're all automatically assume that they're going to do like fashion and makeup. So you feel like you have to prove that you are also smart.
I think I didn't want to waste my degree as well. I was like, I've got all this student loan debt, and I'm like, I need to be paying that off, and I didn't want to like waste it. And I don't know, I just felt like all the girls that I was working with, like that was their passion and they've always wanted to do makeup. And so many of them also had gone to university and studied makeup. So I don't know whether I felt like a bit of a phony as well, to be honest, like saying, oh, I'm a makeup artist just because I worked at Mac, you know? I think that was part of it. And also, yeah, I loved history, and I thought I wanted to be an art curator, you know, in a gallery or something.
Nice.
So yeah, that was kind of like my dream. But I quickly realized that like the 9 to 5, you know, wasn't really for me, to be honest. And that's when I pursued makeup.
So how did, like, becoming a celebrity makeup artist, I feel like is a completely different ball game to like being a makeup artist.
Definitely.
So how did that come about?
Okay, so when I decided that I wanted to be a makeup artist, right, I was like, right, I'm going to do my, you know, give my all. I'm going to go to all these shoots. I'm going to do loads of free jobs and whatever. And I was working with a lot of different people, and I did this shoot with this woman who was amazing, Michelle, shout out Michelle Sultan. And she was like, she randomly called me one day, and I was at a spa with my friend, and she was like, hi, can you come and do Alicia Dixon's makeup? I know it's super last minute,
oh my God.
Can you come and do it? And I was like, literally in my like towel, just about to get a massage. And I was like, just give me an hour. And I literally like hung up, ran home, got my suitcase, ran to do her makeup. And I was like, hell yeah. And that's where it literally began, was very early on in my makeup career, to be honest. I think it was due to like good networking beforehand, meeting people, doing loads of free shoots. And then when the opportunity came, I was like, yeah. And then I worked with her that whole summer, and it was amazing, and she was amazing. So yeah, that was pretty great.
I feel like with makeup artists, it's like this thing that people don't, like everyone just thinks that, you know, you don't really know much, you don't really work very hard because, you know, it's just makeup. But actually, every makeup artist I've ever seen does so much like free work to like get themselves out there.
Yes.
And makeup is expensive.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap career to start
100%. And you know what? It's not easy. It's not easy. I think that there are a lot of jobs that are glamorized because people think, oh, they look really fun or it looks really cool. And it is fun and it is cool, but it's a lot of work, you know, and there's a lot of traveling involved. And, you know, when I was at my peak, like not doing really other things, that was like my main focus and my main career, let's say. I was traveling loads. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so exciting. And then it was like, you know, I haven't been home for like, you know, 2 weeks, and, you know, there was no routine to my life. And I think it was great for that time, but I felt like I don't know if I would be able to sustain it, like moving forward. I thought maybe in the future I'd like to have children, things like that. And I thought, how would I, you know, cope being away from them for long periods of time? So yeah, it's hard work, but it's a lot of fun, and you get to meet amazing people.
So is that why you decided to start moving more into like the influencing kind of space? Or did that just happen like hand in hand with being a makeup artist?
Yeah, I think like I was working with like a lot of cool people, and they were like sharing my posts and things like that. And so naturally and like organically, I should say, it like my followers grew on Instagram. And then I just remember this, I think it was my first job was like a teeth whitening company or something. I think they just emailed me and they were like...
Old school influencing.
Yeah, literally. And they were like, I don't even remember the name, like Star something, I don't know. And they were like, hey, can you do this post on Instagram? And we'll pay you. And I was like, what? Like, what is this? And then, yeah, I did it. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. You can hustle this way. So I started going into that. So that wasn't necessarily a planned thing, but I loved it and I love it. So yeah, it worked out really well.
I feel like people that do influencing, I feel like most of the time it's never on purpose. It's always by accident.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of people is by accident, and a lot of people is on purpose too.
Yeah,
I think,
that's true.
Especially now, like it is a job now, and it's I'd like to think it's a respectable job. Depends who you ask.
Yeah, I guess it depends who you are.
I think it's a respectable job, and a lot of hard work goes into it. So naturally, I can see why people want to go into it as a profession. But I know a lot of people who got into it quite a long time ago, and it just happened like organically because it wasn't as much of a big business as it is now. So
it is. I feel like it's also one of those jobs that's very hyper glamorized. Like everyone thinks pretty pictures and you're always on holiday.
Yes.
No one tells you about the times your manager phones you in the shower at 6 a.m. because you haven't done your work.
Or when you're editing a video for like 7 hours.
And you delete it by accident.
Yeah. Or you post the wrong thing, then you have to post it all over again. Yeah.
It's not as glamorous as people think it is.
Yeah. It's work.
But kind of going on from being a makeup artist and an influencer to now finding and owning No Knots Co, which I know is like your pride and joy and your baby. Yeah. And I really enjoy watching your hair videos on like your reels on Instagram.
Yes.
And I did stalk your LinkedIn as well. So I'm really sorry if you got a notification from that. I thought I turned it off. But, so how did you kind of go into like deciding you wanted to start a brand?
You know what? I honestly have wanted to have my own like business, legacy, whatever you want to call it, for a very, very long time. I remember when I finished uni, I actually went on a trip to South Africa. Someone I knew at the time was going out there for like 6 months and was like, hey, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah. And I went out there and I remember meeting this guy at our apartment and he was like literally sitting by the pool, facing like Table Mountain, like swimming pool, everything. And he was like, oh, I'm just working, like, don't mind me. And I was like, working? And I was like, what do you do? And he was like, oh, I own my own business. And he was like, I live in South Africa for 6 months of the year. And for the other 6 months, I live in LA. And I was like, what? Like, this is somebody's life. And ever since I met this guy, like, I literally have never been able to get that out of my head. And I was like, one day I need to be like by a pool, doing work, facing Table Mountain and saying this is my life kind of thing. I just found it so inspirational. So it's always been something that I've always wanted. But I think that a lot of people will agree it has to be the right time. You have to have the right money. You have to have the right idea. And I just feel like at so many points in my life, I might have had an idea but didn't have the money, or had the money, didn't have the time. And then I guess with No Not Co, all the stars aligned, let's say, all at the right time. And it just came together, really. So, yeah, it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. And luckily it happened.
I guess it was probably because obviously there was a massive like gap in the market for products or like tools for people with like textured, curly, fro hair, and having experienced it yourself growing up.
Honestly, like I couldn't believe, like honestly, like I had to double check like 3 times when I was Google searching like hair tools for curly hair, and I was like, no, surely like this brush exists or things like this exist. And I just couldn't find anything, to be honest. And I feel like, especially in 2020, we were all locked up, and we were a lot more conscious about who we were buying from. What did I just say? Who we were buying from and where we were buying our products. And I just remember thinking like, I'd love to find a brand of someone that looks like me or has curly hair or whatever, that knows the struggle, that's like made a hairbrush for me. And I just couldn't find it. And I was like, what? I saw a brand in America. And there was this amazing woman, I can't recall her name now, and she'd started her own hair tools company. And I was like, oh, I'll just order it. And I couldn't order it to the UK because she was from America. And then, I was like, well, I'll just start my own.
I just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to start my own hair tool company. To be fair, no, that's really like... I do think that is really amazing. I think, I did put on Instagram like Q&A boxes, and I think a lot of people are really interested in like, the challenges and successes of starting your own brand.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like it's safe to assume when someone starts their own company, there's a lot more challenges than there are successes, especially in the beginning.
100%. You know what? I found that a lot of things that I thought would be difficult actually were very easy. And a lot of things that I thought would be easy were very difficult. So, you know what? I always say, if anyone thinks that they want to start a business or that's their dream or start anything really, that they should just go for it. Because to be honest, there are a lot of things that I thought I wouldn't be able to do that I have been able to do. And I think it's just such an unexpected procedure. Like you just don't know what's going to happen day to day. And so it's kind of like, you just got to start, literally. And then everything else just goes from there.
What did you think was going to be the biggest challenge?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, I would combine a few things, like growing the social media page from zero, I thought was going to be a big, big challenge. Getting into retailers, for example, I thought was going to be a huge challenge. And I think just general, like day to day, I was like, how do you do this kind of thing? Like there's no guide really of how to start your own business. Sure, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, which is great, by the way. But you always find a challenge that is, you know, you can't find the answer anywhere and you just have to figure out yourself. So those things I thought would be like the main challenges. Because when I started the brand, I didn't want people to know that it was mine. I wanted it to be like organic. I just wanted it to grow naturally, and I wanted to test that the product actually worked and that people wanted it. And so I thought if I like announced this thing, I was like, hey guys, this is my company, that, you know, people would support it naturally, which I would be really grateful for. But I just wanted it to kind of stand on its own, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was literally growing it from scratch, like zero to, you know, whatever.
Now looking back on it, do you feel like that was the right decision?
Yeah, actually. You know what? Looking back, I definitely think it was the right decision for multiple reasons. I think one of them being that it built like such a community because there wasn't like one face behind it. And this whole curl community that I didn't even like know actually existed at that time just erupted out of nowhere. And, you know, so many people supporting the brand, and it was just like, you go no.co. Like I'd just stand there and be like, this isn't me, you know? It wasn't about me. It wasn't about, you know, what I can do or whatever. It was all about the brand at that time. And so, yeah, I was so happy that it grew on its own 2 feet. And I thought, you know what, this has actually got legs, because people just like it. They don't even know who's made this company, and they're really supporting it. So I think it was the right decision.
Now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Throughout this episode, we hear Kesha talking all about the problems and the challenges that come with setting up your own business. But how would these challenges be tackled if you had a different mindset? A therapist can be very beneficial when it comes to helping you change your mindset in order to tackle life's big problems. After hearing Kesha's story and about her experience, about how lonely it can be to start your own business, having somebody to talk to can be very beneficial. If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and 100% online. All you have to do is fill out a brief survey and get matched with a therapist. You are free to change therapists at any time. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/GKN for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/GKN. So one of your successes is getting no.co onto BeautyBay.
Yes.
And when I was searching for it, actually, that was like the first thing that came up, like the massive BeautyBay section. How did that come about? Like, you know, that's a massive step for a brand.
You know what? It literally was a full circle moment with BeautyBay, because I worked with BeautyBay as an ambassador maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just doing like their YouTube videos and things like that. And I met with the CEOs, because that's what I really love about BeautyBay. They, like, the CEOs work with the company every day. So they're really like
hands-on.
Yeah, they're really hands-on and deal with the like day-to-day of the company. And this guy, Aaron, 4 years later, you know, after I've been an ambassador, just emailed me randomly and was like, hey, long time no speak. Like, can I call you, kind of thing? And I was like, what's going on here, Aaron? And then, can you call me? And then he was just like, we've had, I can't even remember how many, something like 20,000 or something searches for no.co on our brand. And I was like,
oh my God.
And he was like, yeah, like we need to get this brand in here. And I was like, okay, let's make it happen. And then it literally happened. And the next month it was on their website. So
20,000?
Yeah, he was like, there were 20,000 searches. And I was like, what is this brand? And then so he Googled it and he was like, no, like I know this girl. So obviously called me, and yeah, I was literally like, what? Yeah, crazy. So it was like a full circle moment of like working with BeautyBay, and then having the product on there was just like crazy.
That is actually insane. It's either one person who's desperate for that brush.
Yeah.
Or there is a lot of people.
It was actually me. I searched it 20,000 times.
Now I know that's how you did it. I'm going to sit there on BeautyBay and just start looking at random stuff.
It's so funny.
But also another one of your big successes is that No Knots Co is going to come out into Sainsburys.
Sainsburys. We're going into over 140 stores in the
God.
UK. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy.
Hopefully one of them's going to be mine.
Yeah, I hope. Where do you live? Well, actually, can we?
Yeah, no, don't. I'll tell you later.
Don't want to get people stalking you out here. But yeah, hopefully it will.
Was that, because you didn't have like the contact, well, I'm assuming you didn't have the contacts with Sainsbury's, was that harder to get it into a physical store?
I must admit that with Sainsbury's, yeah, that was pretty hard. It was a challenge, I'm not going to lie, because it's like the scale that Sainsbury's are on is just insane. Like they have like depots, they have regulations and health and safety measures when like, delivering stock and things like that. And I'd actually not experienced that before because with BeautyBay, they're an online retailer, so their procedures are a little different. And, every retailer has different systems and every retailer has different setups and the way you invoice and the way you send their products and they want it sent in specific ways. So it's literally like every time you start with a new retailer, it's like you're starting again, basically. You have to learn everything from scratch. And with Sainsbury's, they are pretty amazing and they're really hands-on with the brands that they take on. So I've had to like learn a lot basically to get in there. So it's been challenging, but like a good challenge. And I was actually talking to them for over a year before it went in their store.
Wow, okay.
So it was a kind of like slow process, and then it's like go, and now we're there. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing actually.
Was there ever a time in that year where you were like, oh, it's not going to happen?
No, actually. No, I never thought it wasn't going to happen. I don't know why. I was just being really optimistic about it, but I was like putting it in the back of my mind, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't, hounding them or anything. I was just like, right, okay, when it comes to like going into a store, although again it looks like glamorous from the outside and things like that, like you have to be ready as a business. Like, we're talking about like scaling up so much. You have to be able to afford the stock even before you get, your money back. And, there's a lot of procedures that go into it. So I was like ready and very patient at the same time because I was like, okay, the longer it takes, the more like experience I'm getting and the more experience I'll have to be a good, I guess, retailer for this person. So yeah, it's been fun.
Is No Knots Co just you, or do you have help?
Oh my God. Well, it's actually, it's just me, to be honest. It's just me. And then I have like people helping.
I was going to say, because I don't know how you still have hair, because mine would all fall out.
Yeah, I mean, it's falling. It is just me, but it's like I've had like help from so many different people. Like it takes a village. They say it takes a village to raise a baby. It takes a village to raise a business. Like I've had my grandma packing boxes. I've had
shout out grandma.
Shout out grandma, Nana Christie. I've had like my mum help with things. I've had like my friends do deliveries for me. My friend Paulina at the moment is packing one of my Sainsbury's orders while I'm here. So like it takes a village. Like I haven't done it on my own, that's for sure. But I haven't got like a full team yet, which is it's a process. It's a process. I don't want to like rush into like investment and things like that. And so at the moment, like we're very self-sustainable, which is great because we're growing. And yeah, I think ownership's important and I don't want to make like the wrong decision too soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're growing and yeah, hopefully I'll have some staff members soon. If
anyone's out there needs a job,
if you want to apply, let me know.
That's like, do you feel like the support system is one of the reasons why No Knots Co's managed to be so successful?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think with any business or any venture or anything you're doing, like having the right people around you, I think is really important. And if you have the wrong people around you, it's detrimental. So I think, having a lot of support from your friends and your family is so key because there are so many sacrifices that you have to make. It's not just about, oh, my friend, can you help me, with this package or whatever. It's sometimes you have to cancel, on nights out because you've got certain things going on, or you can't reply as much as you want to because you're going for a really busy period, or if you've got a partner, for example, you're committed. It's like a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Owning a company is like a lifestyle. That's what I say. And it's like, it consumes your whole life, literally. So yeah, you need supportive people around you for sure.
Did you ever find it lonely at times?
100%. Like I found it incredible, like especially when I started. I basically started it during lockdown and it was actually like a grief project. So I'd started it after losing my dad and it was, I think 5 months after. And that's another reason I didn't tell anyone because at this time, like I wanted to stay as busy as possible because normally, I guess if someone loses someone, they want to be around like their friends and family. And at this time, like Boris was telling us that we could only go out for like 20 minutes. So, you know, I was literally isolated in my house on my own. And I think a reason I didn't tell anyone was because, I was doing everything at that time. I'd signed up for like a law degree. I was like doing online French lessons. I was attending an online drama school. Like no joke. I was fully doing all this stuff. And then I was starting a business at the same time. And I think I was just doing just to like keep myself busy really. That's the only thing I could think. And I thought like some of my friends definitely thought I was going crazy. But I was always passionate about starting a business. And so when I first started it, I was very lonely. Yeah, I was in lockdown, I was isolated, and I was just running this business on my own. Like I'd wake up, I'd go to the computer, I'd like do emails, customer service emails, take the packages to the post office, come back, eat dinner, sleep, repeat, literally for about 3 months. So
is No Knots Co the first business you've ever started?
Well, it depends what you mean by a business because I've done a lot of dealings on the side, you know? Done a lot of dealing.
They're legal, right?
Yeah. No. Perfectly legal, but I'll give you an example. So when my sister was on the X Factor, right? Shout out Fleur. And while she was on the X Factor, I noticed that she was getting a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I thought, how can I monetize this? Okay, so I started a t-shirt business, Fleur's fans or whatever, like vote Fleur to win, Fleur East X Factor. And I was selling them on Twitter and Instagram. To this day, she has not received any proceeds of the profits. Sorry, Fleur. But she's okay. She's okay. She's doing well. But I was selling t-shirts like saying vote Fleur and stuff. So technically, I've started business, like that technically was a business, but a very short-lived one. So I've done like a few things like that before, but this is like, my first business that I've like registered, like I've done like legit as a company, yeah.
Because it's like, you normally when you speak to people that have their own business, it's not the first one they've had.
Yeah.
Like usually they've had, this would be like their third.
Yeah.
And they've had to like close some because some have failed and projects have failed. So I was like more interested to know if you've had to like fail in order for No Knots Co to be so successful.
Yeah, I would say, for sure. Like I've tried a lot of things, or I wouldn't say that I've had lots of failures in the sense of like I've started a business, I've started running a company and then it's failed. But I'd say like I had a lot of, business plans, we should say. And like, okay, I'm going to get this, loads of samples. My house is probably filled with Alibaba samples, businesses that just never left the ground. And I think it was just, you get really excited when you think of an idea and you're like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And you stay up all night researching on Pinterest and this is how my brand's going to look. And then when things get a bit challenging or you face like an obstacle, if your heart's not in it, that's when you kind of give up and you're like, nah, this isn't going to work. And so I had a lot of that. And with No Knots Co, I guess I was passionate about it, It was a struggle that I was fixing my own struggles. So yeah, it was something I definitely was very passionate about.
One thing that I loved about No Knots Co when I was like Googling it is that it's like sustainable, isn't it?
Yes. Vegan. Well, technically not vegan. A lot of our tools are vegan. We have 2 brushes that are boar bristles, which is a curl maker brush and a nylon brush. Just because I did actually try the vegan versions and I just didn't think that they were better, to be honest.
Okay.
I think the main focus is like creating brushes that have recyclable packaging, because that was one thing I hated about hairbrushes that I would buy. It would just have all this plastic and I'm just like, why has a hairbrush got plastic? Like, why does it need this much plastic? And there's a lot of brushes and a lot of units. So I wanted to create a brush that was recyclable, BPA free, because a lot of brushes have BPA in, which is like this toxic plastic, which what's that all about? And something that works. So I test all of the brushes. I send them out to like family and friends, get their reviews first. And then if they're all like, yeah, then it goes on the website, basically.
I was going to say, if you've ruined any of your friends' hair process of like selecting brushes.
Yet. Not yet. Maybe in the future.
So all your friends watching this are going to be like,
yeah,
going to have to think
I'm
twice.
sick of using all these brushes. No. They've been really supportive, so that's great.
Typology is a skincare brand created in France on a mission to demystify skincare with an affordable and sustainable skincare option. Now, I love Typology for a number of reasons. I have a massive focus on skincare that is sustainable, but also skincare that is 100% vegan. And the Typology formula is minimal, with the moisturizer only having 9 ingredients. Another reason why I love Typology is that it has a very luxurious feel to the product and to the packaging, but the price does not match what I thought it would. So Typology kindly sent me their 4 best sellers: the 9-ingredient moisturizer, the Radiance Vitamin C Serum, the Radiance Night Serum, and my personal favourite, the eyelash and brow serum. Unfortunately, unlike my brother, I am not gifted with thick lashes. And as I've had a lot of brow treatments over the last few years, I have put my brow hair through the ringer, and I feel like this has been a massive lifesaver over the last few weeks. For those of you that are watching and listening to the podcast and want to try Typology out for yourself, go to uk.typology.com/GKN and you get yourself a free lip balm worth £16 with your order. That's uk.typology.com/GKN. Knowing what you know now about yourself and your business, of everything that you've experienced growing up, is there anything that you would tell your younger self?
Ooh, what, just in relation to business generally?
I think, we'll do business first and then we'll do growing up after.
What would I tell my younger self? I guess just trust the process a bit more. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself when I left university to have a career and have a job, and what does that need to look like? And I feel I should have just, trusted the process a bit more. It's all going to work out. And I think living life and just finding your own natural interests and not applying that pressure on yourself is important, because that's how you figure out what you really love and what career path suits you, I guess. And even, I'm 30 now and I started this when I was 28. But even now, I just feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface now, and I'm finally doing something that I love, and hopefully have more businesses in the future. So I would say not to put too much pressure on myself to build a career so soon, and to trust the process.
Because I think one thing a lot of people expect is that by the time you're 30 you need to have X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Everything needs to be
too much pressure
done by the time you're 30.
Oh my God, yeah. And I do you know what I think? Yeah, society makes people make a lot of bad decisions, because I think that, you feel a lot of pressure to do certain things and hit certain milestones by certain ages. And, luckily my parents never made me feel like I needed to do anything at any age. They've never been like, oh, you're this age, get out my house, or do you know what I mean? Start paying your own rent, or you should really have a career now. There's been times, even when I was a makeup artist full time, and there'd be months where I wouldn't be working and I'd just be at home watching Netflix, and my mom would just be like, do you want some food? Not putting that pressure on me to be something. There's too much pressure, I would say. Too much.
Thinking about pressure and when you're putting pressure on yourself to get a corporate job, were you ever worried that your hair was going to be an issue when being in the corporate world?
That's a very good question. Well, yeah. I must say yes, because I think in popular culture, a lot of successful businesswomen, they have their hair straightened, to be honest. And I'll never forget, I watched this episode of Scandal. And if there's any Scandal fans in the house, you'll know this series is so good. Have you seen it?
No. Oh! I'm going to have to go watch it now.
Yeah, you need to watch it. So there's this woman, she's called Olivia Pope, and she's such a boss. She's a lawyer, top lawyer. She's friends with the president of the United States. She is a boss bitch. And she's got straight hair. She's a black woman, or mixed race, I'm not sure. And basically, they did a throwback of when she was in school and she had no money and she was broke and she had curly hair in that clip. But then when she's rich and successful and got her life together, her hair's straightened. And I was I just remember watching it and thinking, why does she have to have an afro when she's broke? That kind of offended me a little bit, actually. Yeah. And I just feel with a lot of these things, it is like that. And I think that's why there was a series called How to Get Away with Murder. and the main actress, it's gone out of my head. Does anyone know the woman? Viola Davis.
That was
Viola
very
Davis.
quick.
Viola Davis was like praised because she was also a top lawyer in this, and she like took her wig off and like showed her afro, and it was like, yeah, like you can be successful and still, you know, wear wigs or have an afro or have curly hair or, you know, all these things. So yeah, I think it's offensive actually when I see things like that.
Yeah, because I think one thing is like it's not seen as like professional or like you get told to control your hair.
Yeah.
I mean, some people can't control going bald, so
Yeah.
you can't control having big curly hair. Like.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a weird beauty standard. So like years ago when I was younger, I used to do beauty pageants, and all of the black or mixed race women that would compete would always straighten their hair, relax their hair. And it's not until like more recently we would see black women on stage with like Chesley Christ, who was Miss USA, had a massive...
Yeah.
like big curly hair. Now it's like, you know, it takes a woman to kind of, in the public eye, to step out and be like, actually, no, my hair is beautiful as it is.
Yeah.
And then other people feel more comfortable doing it.
100%. And do you know what? That's why I feel like I love to just celebrate my hair so much more now, because I know how much of an impact things like that have on people, just younger, older, whatever. And I think it's like I don't know, subconscious thing. Like I used to straighten my hair if I was going to prom, for example, or something like a glamorous event. I'd have to straighten it because that was me looking better than my hair that was curly. And then in the more recent years, I was like, hold on a second, like this is the hair. Like this is the putting in an effort kind of thing. And so, yeah, that's when I started switching a bit more from like makeup videos to hair tutorials on how to like manage hair and, you know, style afro hair and show different hairstyles and how we can manipulate it, because I think people need to see that and we need to celebrate it for sure.
And do you know what, actually, like there's TikTok channels out there from mixed race children that have like a white mum, for example, that have no idea what to do with
I've seen loads
textured
of these.
hair.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I think one of my friends has recently had a baby, and her baby is mixed race, and she's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So she's now like watching videos for when her daughter gets older. So she's like, I know how to do hair now.
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, a lot of my DMs are filled with mums, like white mums, for example, or sometimes black mums as well, who have kids with mixed race hair, and they're like, thank you so much for these videos. Like, you don't understand. And I'm just like, wow, who knew just styling my hair, you know, on a casual day makes such an impact in other people's lives. But I think that, you know, what you take for granted, like I always used to do makeup videos and think, why would anyone want to see a video of me doing my hair? You know, I thought, this is my hair, it's boring, whatever. But that's, you know, to someone else, it's fascinating. And so it's like, we all have these strengths that sometimes we just dismiss or we don't even recognize as being our thing. And now it's like one of my favorite things about myself. So yeah, I definitely wish I'd celebrated it a lot sooner.
Like, thinking about like your brand's future, I know we had this conversation about hair extensions because somebody on Instagram asked,
we did,
and you had like, you don't use hair extensions.
No, I haven't.
But somebody on Instagram asked if you ever felt annoyed about the lack of diversity of products in the market in terms of hair, like clip-ins and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like when it comes to retailers, which I'm uber focused on now because I'm like, right, where can I get in? What space needs this? We're moving forward. I think that's the key. It's moving forward. Like when I was younger, you could not get products for curly hair in like a Boots or something. It just was not possible. And then there came the Holy Grail, Boots curl cream. Shout out to Boots, because this curl cream got me through like year 10, all the way through university, just this one pot of curl cream. And now you go into all these stores and there's so many more products, which is amazing. But it's still only halfway there. And I feel like, yeah, do you know what? I just think if you can get hair clip-ins from anywhere, it should be for everyone. That's just what I think. I think if you can get a hairbrush, it should be for everyone. If you can get foundation, it should be that goes for every tool, every, you know, department of beauty. I think there should be something for everyone, because you can't really call yourself a beauty store if you don't cater to everyone.
Yeah, because it's not just, I don't, like with clip-ins and extensions, I don't think it's just a problem with like just textured hair. I feel like people that are like more on the ginger red hair community as well also really struggle with the lack of diversity when it comes to hair clip-ins and stuff.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think it's still an up and coming market. Like I've seen a lot more textured hair brands now that are coming onto the scene. And so it's something that's definitely moving forwards, which is amazing.
Do you think that's something that you'd go into?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know
Am I
what?
going to expose your business plans already?
Don't tell them. No, do you know what? I don't know. Never say never in this life, but for now, I would say no, because I think it's really important to put a personal touch into your business. And I don't wear hair extensions at the moment. So I feel like a fraud selling them, you need this, but I don't, So I believe in selling things that, you actually are a fan of, or you're the number one customer. And so, but you never know. You never know.
That is very true. I think, knowing what you know now, do you feel like, would you have changed any of the decisions you made when you were kind of paving your career?
Well, would I have changed anything? You know what? That question is just always so difficult, because there are obviously things that I think, could have done that better or should have done that. But then if I changed them, would I have ended up here?
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult. I mean, I could have been better off, to be fair. I don't know, but it's hard to say what I would and wouldn't have done. I think there are some decisions I made, like I got a retailer, Urban Outfitters in America, really early on. After 5 months of trading.
Oh, wow.
And that was probably a run before I could walk situation, basically, in a nutshell. It was like, I didn't know what I was doing, basically. I made it work, and it did work. And it's been an amazing push for the business, but it was definitely one of those, added a lot more stress into my life that I didn't need at that time, because I didn't have the tools, no pun intended, to go into a retailer at that time, basically.
But then would you have changed that decision, because then you wouldn't have learned what you learned from it?
I mean, I don't know what they would have said if I had said, can we just hold off for a few months and revise this in the summer, I guess, when I've got my shit together. I don't know what they would have said. And sometimes you do need to dive in, But that was very stressful. So maybe I would have started with the smaller units. Going into their stores.
Every guest I have, I ask the same final question.
Okay, what is the question?
And if you remember all the notes that I sent you. I always ask my guests what they would say to people in their past and people in their future that would doubt your success based on the fact you're a mixed race woman.
Wow.
That's a long question.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
What would I say to people in my past, and what would I say to the people in the future?
Yeah, that doubt your success.
Well, so the people in the past, I'd say, fuck you. No, I'm joking.
I mean, yeah, you'd say that. I would say that.
No, I mean, do you know what? I don't know if, I probably have had, a few people that have doubted my abilities, that's for sure. And I've definitely felt like I've had people try and bring me down on my journey. And I think that a lot of people say, to know if people are really there for you or really down for you, I don't know, have a baby, get married, lose someone, start a business, level up, etc. And then people really start to show their true colors. So I've definitely had a few people, not a lot of people, sorry, doubt, my abilities. And to those people, I would say, well, look at me now. No, I would say, you know what? Don't doubt anyone. Never doubt anyone, because you know what? There are things that I did not know I was capable of doing until certain factors and things happen in my life that totally changed my thinking, the way I am, the way I conduct myself. So, you can never really underestimate anyone. And to the future people, I'd say watch this space, because we're coming. We're going to take over the hair game.
Sainsbury's today, rest of the world tomorrow.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
I'm so happy we finally recorded this episode.
I know.
I feel like I've been hounding you for a long time.
I've been looking forward to it.
But yeah, no, do you know what? I'm going to have to get my friends some No Not Co brushes now.
Oh my God, I think everyone needs to get some No Not Co brushes.
And I will send you a video when I see it at my local Sainsbury's.
Yes, exactly. Thanks.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.